I am all set.
Why are you always laughing at me, John?
I don't know.
This is just like being an advisory with you.
Welcome to Predator Minute, the podcast that breaks down the 1987 action, sci-fi, horror, suspense classic Predator 1 minute at a time. I'm John Zabriskie.
And I'm Jeff Glover.
And with us today is a very special guest, Adam Pranica.
Hey, that's me.
Hey. How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. When does our minute start?
Adam, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
The minute starts now.
Oh, geez, we don't have a lot of time to discuss.
Quick.
By my count, we have 40 seconds left.
Oh, no. This is over as soon as it began.
Please bring me back next time.
And thank you all for listening. This has been Predator Minute.
Great having you. Stick around.
Now, Adam, you join us from, of course, the Greatest Gen podcast on MaximumFun.org.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
As well as several others. And we'll let you plug all of those a little bit later in the podcast. But we do appreciate you joining us. It's very exciting to have you here.
Yeah, I'm like the ghost of podcast future for you guys.
Yeah.
It is weird talking to you on the official.
I'm kind of a warning for you.
All 17 of our listeners are going to be shocked when they hear you on here.
Yeah.
I was recognized on the street in Portland last week for the show.
Good for you.
Just to give you any indication of how fucked up my life is because of my podcast.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, can you curse on this show, John?
Oh, all the time.
Okay. All right. Good.
R-rated movie, R-rated podcast.
Yeah, that would be weird. Are there PG podcasts about R-rated films of this format?
Ooh.
Funny you should ask. We just guested on one, right, John?
We did. We did a week long where it was just Jeff and myself talking about Into the Night 1 minute at a time for 5 minutes, and I had to bleep out every time Jeff cursed because they didn't want him swearing on the podcast.
That's what makes Jeff such a popular teacher.
Dude. That's right. Yeah. Just carries over.
He's very relatable that way.
Adam, this is a tangent. Have you ever seen Into the Night, the 1985 thriller comedy from John Landis by chance?
I don't recognize it, no.
Yeah, that's what both of us said. and we were like, okay, cool. We'll do this. We'll watch this new movie we've never seen and do this. We guested like 5 minutes on this podcast and mainly just did like Sean Connery impressions and
dude
and big jokes and dude.
I'm seeing Michelle Pfeiffer, Jeff Goldblum, and Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah. Dan Aykroyd is more of a cameo. It's mostly Jeff Goldblum and Michelle Pfeiffer and just John Landis as a mute Iranian angry guy.
Dan Aykroyd cameo is sort of the perfect amount of Aykroyd, if you ask me.
Just a little bit at the bottom.
Yeah, he comes right in, says a bunch of sexist stuff, and then zooms right out. It's pretty perfect.
Yeah.
Just long enough to drop a weird conspiracy theory on the floor and then leave.
Right. Yeah. So we wanted to start off before we get to the minute, Adam, and ask you kind of what is your history with the movie Predator? Is it something that you watched growing up or so what do you have to say about the movie in general?
No, I mean, I didn't grow up watching it because I was 8 years old when this film came out. So would have been a tough ask for me at that age. But I feel like they started to show this on the USA Network after a period of time. And that was, I think, the first time I saw it was the edited for TV version of the movie.
The 30-second long version, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much playing on repeat on like TBS.
The cable version is as long as your podcast, which we're into our 10th episode right now since we started, right?
We're just going to divide these up.
Okay, cool.
And release them one at a time each week.
I love it. Your download numbers, you're padding your download numbers. That's the problem. That's the secret.
Oh, man.
I need to stop making 90-minute episodes and start making 1-minute episodes. You'll sell a lot of Casper mattresses that way.
We'll end up talking about a minute for usually an hour, sometimes hour 10, hour 15. It's a little nutty.
Yeah, it's
Really?
weird how you just get off on a tangent sometimes.
Yeah, that is weird.
But yeah, so I've talked about how I did see this movie way too young. It was this movie and RoboCop that I saw way too young that obviously made an impression.
I feel like any age is too early for RoboCop, and I mean that as a compliment. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I know. I didn't understand that movie till I was 35.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just saw that at the Cinerama a couple months ago. Jeff and I did.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. I think the world understands that film a little better now, as well as it ever has.
Yeah. It is starting to get its dude respect. I mean, I think it has for a long time, but I think it's really starting to sit on the shelf as like the classic, one of the greats from the 80s, really from the last 30 years.
Drop it! Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
Do you guys prescribe to the theory of RoboCop and Starship Troopers existing in the same universe on the same timeline?
Oh, because they're both Verhovens?
A while ago. Yeah, they're both Verhoeven, and Starship Troopers could plausibly be a future for what we see Detroit going through via OCP.
Oh, like OCP is like the beginning of this.
Yeah, of like the pseudo-fascist future of Starship Troopers.
Yeah, like privatized everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't before, but I might now.
Yeah, I kind of have to now, because then it at least gives you the excuse to watch those movies with a different lens.
Yeah.
Also, I want to see some sort of like future sequel where like Jake Busey is fighting with RoboCop somewhere against alien bugs.
Oh, Jeff, I mean, those sequels are out there. They went straight to video. There's 5 of them.
Wait, was Jake Busey in the sequels?
I think Jake Busey picked up the phone for the sequels, guys.
Oh,
I don't know for sure, but...
Yeah, but you're probably right. He's probably in all of them.
Jake Busey did Starship Troopers. He did the Jodie Foster telescope movie.
Oh, Contact. He's so creepy in that one.
But then what
Contact?
happened to him? Yeah, he was the scariest part of Contact.
Yeah, he was the religious zealot bomber.
Yeah.
Oh,
he blew up the first spaceship.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
He was in The Predator, which just came out.
Oh.
He was playing the son of Gary Busey's character from Predator 2.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, it was listen. It wasn't
way
awesome.
to keep that in the family.
I turned that shit off after 30 minutes. I couldn't.
I was terrible. I saw it in the theater, and
oh no!
Yeah, it was not good. It was not good.
That's one of the great disappointments of the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You would think that Shane Black would do a good job, right?
Yes.
Like with the respect he has for the source material.
Yeah, and
I was so stoked.
Yeah, and he makes other good movies like The Nice Guys and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah,
I love those movies. And then I don't know how you just missed it. I mean, he had all the opportunity, all the world right there just to make it happen, but he didn't.
Yeah.
Well, that's our story too, right? Failure of potential. All 3 of us.
Well,
just 3 Shane Blacks, really.
That's us.
Let's talk about minute 35 from Predator. Minute 35 opens with the Predator taking in the aftermath of the camp attack. And ends with Panchito looking around the jungle.
Oh, Panchito.
What else?
We get a lot of Predator vision here, don't
So
we?
much Predator vision, yeah.
Like 56 seconds, I believe, of Predator vision. Is this not the longest stretch we've had in any minute so far, John?
I think it must be the longest. Oh, it has to be the longest because it is, as we always say, it's carrying over from the last minute. And the last
right.
last minute was just taking in Billy laughing. If you remember, he starts to laugh and it instantly goes to his high pitch, the rat kind of laugh.
Right. So I'll just kind of give an overview of what we see here, and then we can kind of go through it and talk about different segments if we want to. But we open up on this minute with Predator vision, and he's scanning through the camp, and we get a lot of the cool, like, it looks like the Vertical Audacity soundtrack.
It totally
right?
does, yeah.
Yeah. And he's scanning around the camp, and we see dead bodies.
Just bodies.
We see color fading from some of the dead bodies, which is kind of cool. Later on, coming up, we're going to get a shot, the very first shot of the Predator and the reveal of his hand. Yeah. So maybe I'll pause there and we can talk a little bit about what we like about this little segment. So did you have stuff to add here, John, about kind of what we're seeing through predator vision?
I think you and I were talking about this off mic, Jeff, but just the looking around, the way the camera pans around and you have the distorted sounds going off the whole time, along with the, I imagine the predator's heartbeat is keeping track of. Not really sure. Never really find that out. But all these sights and sounds going on is really disorienting, I feel like, to myself, the viewer, and probably others, while at the same time, it's, I don't know, kind of putting you into the perspective of this other that we just don't know yet, especially if you're watching this for the first time and you're not really sure what to think or what to make of it. And that's all clarified, though, when the predator's hand eventually shows up. But until then, you're just trying to make out, what is he looking at? Or what's this entity looking at? And are all these just the same bodies that we just saw?
Yeah, I really like how, as the predator is scanning across the camp, we see all the different predator vision colors, the heat vision colors, and all of a sudden his hand comes into view, and it's like you said, we were really disoriented. We weren't quite sure what we were looking at, and all of a sudden, bam, we get that outline of his hand, and it's the first time that we've actually seen the predator, other than through his perspective.
Adam, do you have anything for what we're seeing, the thermal imagery? I know you all talked a little bit about it on, not a little bit, but probably quite a bit on Friendly Fire when you reviewed the movie.
Yeah, I think the thing that I like best about the infra-pred scenes,
it's Kona new phrase.
Kona phrase.
Is that I understand that we don't know the answer to this question, but I do believe this is the sound of the predator's heartbeat. And what I like about that theory is that his heartbeat sounds like the drum beat of an action film. Like, it sounds very almost Terminator in its propulsion, and it's like discordant, and it is not like on beat or off beat at any given time. It's really arrhythmic in a fun way, but at the same time, it's got a weird action movie underpinning sound to it, which works for me, which is familiar to me as an action film enthusiast. The other thing is just the Florence Griffith Joyner nails that the Predator has.
He
in
really
this scene
does, yeah.
Is kind of a lot. Like, you wouldn't think that, a craftsman, which is what the Predator is, right? He's turning bodies into maces with skulls at the end. He's like polishing those bones. Like, I don't know how he does his work with those nails. So questionable grooming habits by the Predator, I think we can agree.
Yeah, it's got to be hard to polish those skulls and skin everything with those nails getting in the way.
Yeah. Hard to hold down an actual job by the Predator.
They probably wears a bunch of bandages on the fingers when it goes in for the interviews, like you would tattoos.
Yeah, I think so.
No, I cut my nails.
But you make a good point here, Adam, talking about his heartbeat in the background almost acting like the score of the film in that moment. I really do love the sound design in this segment.
Yeah.
You get there's a bunch of layers of sound happening. It's really cool. You get the heartbeat of the predator. You get kind of that weird sort of synthy score happening in the background, and then you get all the echoey sounds of what we realize is the predator replaying recordings that he's taken of our team back through his helmet or whatever it is. And I don't know, I really like that because it just gives it like such a creepy vibe. And we've talked a lot about how we're in a moment in this movie where the genre is shifting from insane like action film into more of a kind of a slow burn horror film. And I feel like this segment really helps smooth that transition. All of a sudden you get kind of this perspective and the sound design changes, and I don't know, I think it's just a really cool way to make that shift.
Are you someone who prescribes to the belief that the Predator gains some kind of English understanding by the replaying of these voice clips, or do you think that he's playing them back at random because they're the only clips that he has of the English language, and he's using it to either get attention or creep them out without having an understanding of what's being said?
I think in this moment it is just him replaying it. But I think it is so that he can start to learn the language.
Well,
isn't there, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there a part of, is it this movie or is it in Predator 2 where he actually says, one of the Predators say something in English?
Yeah,
Am I making that up?
He says at the end of Predator 2, he gives Harrigan the pistol. He says, like, take this or something like this.
Yeah.
Just heavily modulated. Like, is that the Predator's voice or like a re-recorded line? That
It always felt to me like a literal form of parroting, where like a parrot doesn't know what it's saying to you. It just knows phonetically what it's doing.
Right. And I think that is what's happening here in this scene.
But what I'm saying is I think that's happening for the entire film. Do you think he ever turns the corner into understanding the language?
Oh, I don't think so. I think we see him later use it just for full hunting effect when he's like mocking.
The way that you would use a duck call for
right. He's talking to Dylan much later in the movie. I believe after he's killed Mac or right before he's killed Mac, and Dylan can hear him saying over here, and he's like looking for Mac, and he sees him killed, and Mac, Dylan. Dylan. Oh, it feels good to Dylan and Mac again. But to your point, Adam, you mentioned something like almost robotic in this. When he's looking around, it might as well be a robot vision up until you see the hand show up. It's very cinematic. Right before the hand shows up, this little vertical audacity lifts out of frame to give you the full frame effect of this. Oh yeah. This man, I can't remember the name of the 90s band. I think it had Sisters in it, and then she has like super long fingernails, but you see this nailed hand come in and scoop up, and you're going, oh my god, like look at this crazy hand. Like this is not a robot vision, this is some kind of alien vision. So you might even have a genre shift right within this vision scene from I think it's maybe some sci-fi robot to a sci-fi alien perhaps, or sci-fi monster.
Yeah, because all we've gotten is we've gotten some Predator vision before this, but other than that, it's just waving leaves, like we haven't even gotten the shimmer that we see later on. So we really, for the first time viewers of this movie, we have no idea what this creature looks like until we get a tiny glimpse right now.
Yeah, to have the first instance of knowledge of this creature be POV felt and feels very unique. Yeah,
and at first you might be freaking out, like, oh my god, it's a monster hand. Then you're thinking, oh, like that's supposed to be my hand as a viewer. I don't know. It's like it's a really unique kind of killer perspective, killer POV, where you're seeing exactly what they're seeing, but the music really calms down after it first makes the entrance. After that hand first shows up, you hear the sting, and then it just kind of calms down. Everything quiets down a little bit before the scene change back to the actual vision, and then
I love that sting in the score.
Yeah. It's a good sting. Like, hey, this is the first time you're seeing anything beyond just the Predator vision. Now you're seeing like a piece of the Predator.
Yeah, and he's holding that poor scorpion. Yeah. Adam, we were talking about it last minute, but that scorpion actually died in the making of this movie.
It's the one real casualty of Predator.
Yeah.
This was not a film with that credit at the end that says the ASPCA has monitored the treatment of all animals and insects.
Right. No. Stab the shit out of that bug.
Yeah, McTiernan seems kind of gleeful when he talks about that in the commentary. He's like, no, that's something we killed. There was definitely a harming of a creature for this movie.
Was that a scorpion that they brought in or that they found in the jungle? You think?
That's a good question. When I did my research, there was a scorpion species that is native to Mexico, Central America, that looks like that. It's like a black-edged scorpion, I think is the name. I was talking about that last minute, and yeah, it's non-fatal. It just kind of gives you more or less like a big bee sting when it stings you.
You know, the thing about an edged scorpion is that it makes you think it's going to sting you for a long time, and then you just sit in anticipation, like waiting for it. And that's sort of what makes you feel the most when it finally happens.
You have to go sting yourself away from the scorpion just to feel it.
Yeah, just to get over the hump. Yeah.
I feel like it's stinging you emotionally before it stings you physically.
Right. Boy. Yeah. I mean, because that's a big part of it,
Oh,
what a tease.
Poor scorpion. John, you mentioned something in your notes about how if we're going to get a little nerdy calling out some errors in the film. Nerds. That this shot of the scorpion doesn't actually look the way it should look in heat vision.
No, scorpions. Scorpions are cold blooded, so it would not be giving off the same body heat. I mean, it is like a bright white then red smush on there, and it only seems to lose its heat after Predator picks it up. If anything, it would be the opposite. It would be cold, lying dead there because it's a cold-blooded creature. And then after Predator picks it up, because you can see the Predator's hand is plenty red, giving off the heat, then it would absorb even the dead cold blood.
Did you immediately get on IMDb when you found that out and write a strongly worded post?
I should, because it's one of those few like IMDb goofs that's not on there. I'm super surprised that I've been double checked on a website that showed different creatures in heat vision, and the scorpion is being held up in heat vision. It's a live scorpion, and it's dark blue, the same color as the background, against someone's orange and red body heat.
Did they cut out the scene where the Predator takes out a couple of tweezers and like removes the skull of the scorpion and polishes it and like
he gives a little roar,
puts it in a sets it into a ring, like a jewel?
Oh my god, that would have been amazing. He's using his tiny little
Why didn't
fingernails.
Shane Black do that in his remake?
Can't you see the Predator holding like the tweezers with the tips of his claws?
Yeah,
God, can you imagine?
definitely not.
What dexterity?
That's why you don't hire the Predator to work in like a lab or something. He's not going to be able to work the tweezers.
To edit really old film.
He's not going to be able to change the lenses in the microscope.
No.
But they had to have Predator scientists, right, to build Predator spaceships and design Predator weapons.
You would think.
Yeah.
Maybe they cut their fingernails.
Yeah, maybe they truly are like the more civilized, because like he's coming across this battle, well, not even a battleground, just more like a mop-up scene of 80 dead guys and a crushed, harmless scorpion.
This guy's definitely a blue-collar predator.
Yeah,
you got the white-collar predators doing the science back home.
Right. We've talked about how we've hypothesized that perhaps this is just like a dick predator who's like a big game hunter who just went out somewhere and just killing indiscriminately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. If that's the case, he gets what's coming to him, right?
Yeah, that's true. He runs into Arnold. Yeah. All right. Well, so after we get the reveal of the Predator hand here, we cut away from the Predator vision and we just get a few seconds of Poncho holding his gun, looking up into the leaves. No dialogue, not a whole lot to add for that last little bit of the minute. Did you have anything to add there, John, about Poncho?
Well, nothing about what I'm seeing on screen, but director John McTiernan, his commentary, he says this segment that we're about to see that ends this minute and goes the whole next minute is, I believe, the first thing that he filmed for this movie. And you're gonna see the next minute when it's just purely the team kind of heroically making their way through the jungle. Just everybody has a little pause and swivel to the camera as the camera's moving around them and sometimes going to foreground, going to background, and tracking them through the jungle.
Well, I'm excited for next minute. We see like all the team, don't we?
Yeah, we see the whole team next minute, but I don't want to spoil that. But
I'm really happy to be doing this minute, you guys.
We're happy to have you, Adam.
Like, I think all the other minutes are to come. Not as good as this one.
this is
the best.
It couldn't be. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you see that beautiful nailed hand. You see the first time we see the Predator on screen, which is really neat. And watching it, 30 times in a row this minute, I am totally flashing forward to movies like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, where you see like the Toka and Razor big creatures with the nailed hands and such, and just totally taken to other movies I've seen as a kid like that were kid appropriate, where there are giant monsters and costume people in monster costumes with the gloved hands and the scary protrusions.
And minus all the gory deaths.
Yeah, minus all the gory deaths.
Well, the one thing of note in this last little section is we get a jump back into the kind of what we've deemed as the walking through the jungle score, right?
Jungle Trek.
Yeah, the Jungle Trek. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. We get that coming back, and that's going to carry on into the next one. All right, well, that kind of brings us to the end of the minute. John, did you have any other tidbits to add that we left off? Or Adam, did you have anything else to add about this minute?
Yeah, I wanted to say about Poncho that he's low-key, I think, one of the real fun characters in the film. Like, I think the ensemble does a good job in making each person have kind of a distinguishing characteristic, except for Poncho. And what distinguishes Pancho to me in a way that I really like is that he's often the setup man comedically for guys like Blaine and everyone else. Like he's never the guy with the punchline. He's always the guy with the setup.
Yeah.
And I really like that about him. I think it says something about him as a person and maybe even as a soldier that he's so willing to do that all the time. Yeah. I kind of dug him.
Yeah, we talked about, so with Blaine's classic line, ain't got time to bleed. I kind of said that my favorite part of that sequence is when he's like, you got time to duck?
Yeah.
His reaction to that line is almost funnier than the line,
Pancho's the guy who, like, he gets home alone trapped at the end and he lives.
Yeah.
Right? And then they got to like stretcher him to a helicopter. I love that he's not too proud to beg for his life.
I remember you saying that on the Friendly Fire podcast. He's not like you go on with them. He's like, I can make it.
Get me the fuck out of here.
Kidding.
That really, I love that about him. Super cool.
He unfortunately, like, for such an awesome character, I feel like he goes out the worst in this movie. Even Hawkins has that great slasher death of just being, sliced right in front of a witness who sees it
a lot of the actors in this film too, not great reputations for a variety of reasons. Haven't really read too many bad things about Richard Chavez. I could be wrong.
No, he was an actual Vietnam vet who saw combat and who the casting director Jackie Birch saw in a Vietnam play in Los Angeles called Tracers, and then she said, "Oh, we need to have this guy. This guy knows what he's doing. He knows what it's all about." And I think he even co-wrote that play, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice casting.
Yeah, we
did a great job.
We've loved Richard Chavez throughout this movie. He has good rapport with, it seems like, everybody, which is important to have on a squad. And Dutch really leans on him a few times to say, you're taking lead here, and among other things, and go chase down those last two rebels when they're mopping up the rebel camp.
He's so not flashy. Like, I've watched this movie 1,000 times, and like, he's never going to be anyone's favorite or even the most memorable in the top 5 if you're ranking them like that. But that's what every ensemble film needs, a glue guy like this.
Yeah.
And he's definitely that.
Yeah, when I first revisited the film for this project, I was telling John, I was like, Pancho came up in one of our episodes, and I was like, I don't have a lot to say about Pancho. I kind of forgot he was in this movie till I rewatched it. And then as we've gone through and revisited it minute by minute, he's really kind of grown on me as one of the great additions of this crew. Yeah, for sure.
How about you bring me back for minute 69?
Nice.
Perfect. Nice.
I think I would really appreciate that.
We can do that.
Okay.
We'll have to record.
It's just the Predator being crushed under a log. I'm not going to get that lucky, am I?
Nice. No, that's not so much later. That's minute. Yeah. What is that? 100, maybe minute 100, I think.
We'd have to record in person, laying down head to toe with the mics.
Why is this so muffled?
Yeah.
Can do. Yeah. Yeah, we're all giving and receiving that episode.
Wow, the audio quality on this episode really went to shit.
But it sounds like everyone's happy though.
Oh, for my weekly recommends, I recommend this.
Yeah, my weekly recommend is kind of a classic.
Something you all talked about in middle school. Wow. All right. That really escalated.
I like
quickly.
to add a pinky.
Call that a 70. All right. Let's throw it to the weekly recommends. So each week we talk about, I don't know, a favorite movie you've seen lately or TV show you just have to talk about, or who knows what, maybe you read a book. Good job. Or you listened to a podcast, or you tried on some new shoes.
Hey.
But Adam, you're our guest, so what is something that you could recommend for our listeners?
Oh, I have got to recommend a podcast. I I think that you could do no better in your life. And look, I'm going to set aside this great podcast and my own great podcasts and recommend to you a podcast called Doughboys, hosted by Nick Weiger and Mike Mitchell. It's the podcast about chain restaurants, but it is about so much more. It is maybe 30% of the enjoyment of that show is about chain restaurants in any way. The rest of it is just a slow descent into the nightmarish relationship that Nick and Mitch have over the course of hundreds of episodes. It is amazing. It's my favorite show. I listen to it a couple of times every week. I re-listen to episodes that I love. A lot of the backstory between them can be gleaned over, like, I would say if you listen to one episode and you don't love it, it's a little bit of a slow burn because it's really the force of personality that makes the show great. So I would just choose a couple of chain restaurants that you like and then listen to them, rate and review them, and then expand your downloads from there. But Doughboys, the podcast, is going to be my weekly recommend.
Nice. Good recommend. I've listened to some Doughboys episodes, and the relationship between those two, you described it perfectly. The very first one I listened to, I feel like Nick came on and said something, and immediately Mitch was like, "What the fuck? Fuck you!"
It's so great.
And I was like, "Whoa!"
I love them so much, and they're starting to go out and do live shows now, and their live shows cannot be missed. They're all that energy and more, and they have great guests too. They book comics and writers and friends. They do a great job booking the show as well. So
nice, very cool.
Definitely don't miss it.
Awesome. Jeff, you have something to recommend for the listeners?
Yeah, so my recommend this week is a little unconventional, I guess. Well, not so much. I'm going to recommend a movie, actually a few movies. But I'm going to recommend the films of S. Craig Zahler.
Are these horror movies, just to interrupt real quick?
No, not...
What?
Not specifically. They're more like... violent genre action films.
Oh, good.
Oh, he's the Bone Tomahawk guy.
Bone Tomahawk guy.
Oh.
Yeah. Have either of you seen Bone Tomahawk or Brawl in Cell Block 99?
A person with questionable taste recommended Bone Tomahawk to me, and that's why I haven't seen it. But you're someone with impeccable taste.
Well,
and so I think I might give it a try.
So his films are an interesting breed of film, and all of his movies are long. They're all always over 2 hours long, which immediately normally puts me off. And they are also...
I mean, he's really edging you, it sounds like.
Going back to episode 69, I see.
Yeah.
And one of the things that has grabbed me about his films, though, are his characters and his writing, his dialogue, and then the fact that they are punctuated by extreme violent scenes. Just... for whatever reason, that grabs my attention. And if you've never seen Bone Tomahawk, that's a fantastic film. It is a Western for 80% of the movie, starring Kurt Russell, which is awesome right there. And then in the last, 20% of the film, it goes pure insane horror. And the long, slow burn build to it is totally worth it. So Bone Tomahawk is a recommend. His next film is called Brawl in Cell Block 99, starring Vince Vaughn. It is a complete throwback genre film reminiscent of like 70s exploitation prison movies. And it is about Vince Vaughn basically working his way through the prison system and fucking people up. There's a purpose behind it that I don't want to give away, but that movie blew my mind. For the first 45 minutes, it's the setup to him going to prison, and then when he gets to prison, it just goes full throttle, and I love that movie. And then he just released a brand new movie that's called Dragged Across Concrete.
Jesus.
Right? The title there is a fair warning.
Jeff, do these titles, like, I think it's interesting that there's like a leitmotif here where like there's probably a Bone Tomahawk in Bone Tomahawk, right? And then there's a Brawl in Brawl in Cell Block 99.
Sure, yeah.
there's going to be a guy dragged across concrete and dragged across concrete, right?
And here's my caveat to this recommend is I have not watched all of Dragged Across Concrete yet. I watched the...
Did you get to the part where they dragged a guy across concrete?
No violence yet. I've only watched 30 minutes of it, and I had to stop.
It's edgy.
Yeah, it's so edgy.
I had to stop because it was getting too late, and I have children, so I can't stay up too late anymore.
You can't go to bed that important.
Right, they have to go to bed sometime, Jeff.
I had to go finish myself, and then...
You're never going to be able to roll over.
I slept under
you're not a stomach sleeper that night.
I slept under a self-made tent.
Nice.
The 30 minutes of this film that I did see totally grabbed me and sucked me in, so I will be finishing it soon. So anyway, it's a trilogy of violence and despair. Check it out, everybody.
Wow. All right.
Ugh.
Follow that up, John.
I saw Shazam. And I really liked...
I heard Shazam was not for kids. Did you get that?
Oh, it was 100% for middle school kids. I teach middle schoolers, and it was 100% made for middle school boys, and I loved it, so I'm about that level. Just all the jokes. I mean, it's just big with a superhero twist, and there's even a very obvious callback to Big. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, so I would recommend that. It's good to be in the theaters. And...
So Shazam fucks? Is that the big callback? That's the only big callback I can remember. That's worth doing.
I'm just a kid, right? No, he does not. There's something else from Big.
Shazam has no idea where the clit is, right? Like, he's got to be terrible.
He just says Shazam and hopes that it happened.
You'll just have to watch.
If you dial down his lightning fingers a little bit, I could see that being a nice device.
Shocker, I know.
John, we've defiled your recommend.
Oh no, defile away. It's Predator Minute. That's what we do. Nope, that was mine. Shazam. Right. Go see Shazam. It's a fun comic book movie. Shazam.
All right. Well, does that wrap things up, John?
I think that wraps up our recommends for right now. But Adam, where can we find you outside of this wonderful episode and episode 69 later on of Predator Minute?
Oh, thank you for guaranteeing that reappearance.
It's recorded.
Renewing me for another episode 69. I will be back for episode 69. You can hear my 3 podcasts over at MaximumFun.org.
Oh, it's 3 now.
Yeah. One that I'm really excited about right now is called Friendly Fire. It's a podcast about war films, but outside of discussing the war film itself, its hosts are me and John Roderick and Benjamin Harrison. And we kind of find that the war film is an interesting technology to see how a country views itself, both at the time of the conflict the film is depicting, and also like retrospectively the differences between how a country views itself in that time and at the time of the film's release. So there's like a really fertile ground there that I think has been surprising and good, and also really funny. Like the show is way funnier than I thought it would be when we were sketching it out.
I'm a fan of Friendly Fire.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so everyone out there, do give it a listen. It is a fantastic show. And
I think you recommended it, Jeff. Didn't you recommend it a few weeks ago?
It was one of my weekly recommends. Yeah.
Oh, we got a nice little pop.
Yeah, it's called the Predator Minute Bump.
Yeah.
Oh, John listened to us now.
Yeah. And you guys recently did a Predator episode, correct?
You did a pork chop movie.
That was last month.
Nice.
We gave it the business. It was a lot of fun. I think I rated it the highest of my co-hosts, but I truly have a lot of affection for it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I listened to quite a few episodes recently, and I really enjoyed probably the Downfall episode the most, when you're talking about how a country views itself, and then how a country views that movie or itself through that movie's lens. I was just fascinated by that conversation and just all the ways that that thinking can go.
Yeah, there are a lot of fun conversations to be had around those themes, especially now. So at this moment in time in world history. So, and I also host 2 Star Trek themed podcasts. One of them's The Greatest Generation. That started as a show about Star Trek: The Next Generation and is now taking episode by episode Deep Space Nine. We're in season 4 of that right now.
Wow.
And then my third show is called The Greatest Discovery, and that is a show about the CBS show Star Trek Discovery, which is really good.
Oh.
So check that out if you enjoy that.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. I listened to Greatest Gen on co-host Jeff's here recommend quite a few years ago. That was when, the third Star Trek J.J. Abrams movie came out. I don't know if it wasn't James Abrams or J.J. Abrams. I think wasn't that James Wan at the time for the third one?
Yeah. Is that the one we saw together?
Yeah, that's the one we saw together. And he recommended Greatest Gen. I didn't know that was you, Adam. And then I listened to it and I thought, oh my God, I know Adam Pranica. I went to high school with that guy. He was in my advisory. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, it's just crazy how we're like
man, that is
closing the loop now. And like, I don't know who's Bruce Willis, but yeah.
Yeah, and we are setting up live show tours that will begin at the end of May. We don't have dates yet.
Are you going to do Seattle?
Firmed up. Yeah, that's the plan.
Nice.
Awesome.
You guys will have to come.
Yeah, we'll have to come.
Absolutely.
We'll promote it on the show. We'll give you another
bump. Don't worry.
Gotta have that bump. Don't put me over the edge, though. Make sure you... make sure you keep it going, guys.
You'll only need the edge, as they say on the commercial.
All right. Yeah, everyone check out Adam's other podcasts.
Where can people find you, Jeff?
Where can they find me? I'm on the Twitter.
There you
are. Carl _H Hungus 314.
My name is Carl, ich bin expert.
Mm-hmm.
There I am.
My name is Carl, ich bin expert.
My name is Carl, ich bin expert.
Love that.
I'm here to fix the cable.
Here to fix the cable.
Are all of your episodes as pornographic as this one?
Oh, this is the most porny.
Okay. Yeah, this is shot right to the top.
That's great.
We're really glad you could be here for this, Adam.
Me too. I don't think you're ever going to put this out. I'm afraid you're not going to.
It's going to be like the Predator edited for, CBS version. Oh, that was actually a minute long. That was crazy.
This episode is hard R.
This is a hard R in more ways than one.
Yeah. What does that mean? Well, it means that you can find fellow listeners of this podcast on Facebook, Predator Minute Listeners Palapa. Target the center of the Palapa.
Target the center of the Palapa.
Target's the center of the Palapa.
You can find us on Twitter at Predator Minute. You can send any comments, complaints, concerns about today's guest at predatorminute@gmail.com. No, just kidding. Adam, it's been awesome having you on. I can't thank you enough.
I was hoping you weren't going to give out my email address. Fuck that. Direct your comments to John and Jeff, please.
Oh, man. That would have been the ultimate dick move.
Just contact Adam at edgeman69 at gmail.com.
I'm an edgeman from back in the day.
An OG edgeman.
Yeah.
OG edgeman. Hey, it's the edgeman.
John knew me in high school. He knows.
Yeah. I knew the edgeman. But this is mostly been minute 35 of Predator Minute, and until next time, I'm John Zabriskie.
And I'm Jeff Glover.
And I'm Adam Pranica.
And until next time,
stick around.
Stick around.
It is now safe to close the tab.
I'm all set.
Why are you always laughing at me, John?
I don't know.
This is just like being an advisory with you.
Oh man, it just takes me back. Yeah, we're you and who is it? Dan? Is that his name?
Yeah, Dan Jordan.
Yeah, you guys were like the two seniors when I was a junior, and then I was the one junior guy or the one senior guy. So it kind of inherited that of having to be a little bit jokey and such. But yeah, you guys were just always cracking jokes. It was great. That was great memories there in East Lake.
You were our best and only audience. Because we were in an advisory where like we had some cools in our advisory.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to speak for you, John Zabriskie, but me and Dan were not that. And so they would, like, the beautiful people would go off and do cool, beautiful things. And Dan Jordan and I would put one of those giant construction cones
That's right.
on a tree in our green belt.
You guys gave it a name
so
and everything.
rad.
It was crazy. What do you remember the name? I don't remember the name you gave it.
Oh, I think we called it Dick.
Of course. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, we put this helmet head on the top of a
Yes.
like cut down tree in our school's green belt, and so it also had the flashing light.
Yeah.
So it would be out there day and night outside of our advisory window. We hot glue gunned fern fronds to it to make it
Yes.
blend in, but there was nothing obscuring that flashing light.
That's like how when they paint trees on the side of a water tower, like
Yeah.
Yeah, or sometimes in LA you'll see like cell towers that are painted green and covered in moss. They do that
yeah.
down there.
yeah. Except it was Dick.
Oh yeah, yeah, very bushy.
Very bushy. Oh. It's like when I manscape. It's like I miss one. There's just like a leaf flying off to the left.
Very bushy.
Yeah.
Yeah, very asymmetrical bush over there.
And then I screw up, and it just ends up all coming off. And then
Asymmetrical hairstyles are really in right now, so that's probably it's too bad you're off the market. That'd probably be very cool.
Unexpectedly trendy. That's,
Whoops, backed into that one.
that's my style.
All right. We're gonna talk some Predator now, among other things, I guess. But,
Yeah, probably.